Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the office of President of the United States
the office of President of the United States.
We have been given a gift by God today to usher in a new dynasty.
Now you get RFK Jr.
Don't you want a president who's going to make America healthy again?
You get Tulsi Gabbard.
Putting our country in a continual state of war.
You get Elon Musk and you get J.D. Vance.
A hell of a way to start the next 4 years.
The right-wing Avengers.
We have an army of digital soldiers.
Department of Defense under Donald Trump will achieve peace through strength.
Shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one.
Rescission of 78 Biden-era executive actions, executive orders, presidential memoranda, and others.
The golden age of America has most definitely begun.
Begin preparing the 30,000-person migrant facility at Guantanamo Bay.
We are getting the dirtbags off these streets.
There's one guy who can fix this shit, and it's Donald Trump.
What's storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
Stand strong. The day is here. The battle's near. Put on the armor. Yeah. Belt the truth around my waist. Feet of peace, I take my place. Breastplate shining righteousness. Shield of faith, no fear, no death. Helmet of salvation, crown. The word of spirit cuts them down. Darkness trembles, shadows fall. I'm clothed in fire, I hear the call. Armor of God, I will not yield. Stand in the light, my sword, my shield. Against the night, against the light. The armor of God will never die.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. My name is Josh, and welcome to the Red Pill Project's Daily Dose, live with you Monday through Friday. I hope everybody is doing well out there. A little bit of late start today. Sorry, I caught a nap. Got up from the nap a little late. My bad. I apologize for that, but hopefully everybody's doing well. It's because I got DEF CON tonight. So tonight is usually a later night. So I tend to take a nap on my later nights just so I'm not so tired the next day. But I did get like an hour in, maybe 35 minutes, 40 minutes. But we are with you now, and we are exposing a dark world. A dark world is being exposed, and that is the title of tonight's episode. And man, every day it's more and more gets exposed of things that you and I have been having conversations about for a decade. Isn't it interesting? Isn't it crazy? Isn't it nuts just watching all of this unfold? Watching the pundits all throughout social media be like, oh my God, I told you so. And these people were nowhere to be found when us Anons 2017, 2018, we're out there exposing all of this about Epstein, Epstein's network, about child pedophilia, about the horrific it's horrific, about the horrific actions that these global elites were doing. How about elite hunting parties on Rothschild's properties in Bavaria? How about utilizing underground military bases to store children for biomedical research? It's all being exposed. And, you know, someone said out there, but nothing is happening. Oh, well, guess what? But it is happening. And that's the thing that I want people to begin to understand, is that just because people aren't being shackled in chains and thrown in jails or being, you know, committed to life in prison, everything is changing. The world is changing right now through the exposure. This is the Great Awakening. This is the lifting of the veil. This is showing the world the truth. You got to think about this. Take it from a perspective of kind of like a psyop, right? 2025, the last episode I did at 2025 was called the 2025 psyop. And the reason I put it like that was because during 2025, there was like Trump and the Trump administration were like, we're not going to touch the Epstein files. And then Elon comes out and goes, Trump's in the Epstein files. And the left goes, oh my God, this is nuts. And we had known that the left had manufactured a plot with Wolf, the reporter, and Bannon and Epstein to go out there to basically produce evidence on Donald Trump, to input evidence in the against Donald Trump in there, that they removed the evidence of the elites, they removed evidence of Clintons and all these other people, and that they were going to pinpoint this against Donald Trump. And so Donald Trump comes out and just plays along like, oh no, I don't want the Epstein files released. Oh no. And Alpha and I wrote an article on March 15th, 2025. Alpha and I did a podcast on it, that what you are watching right now is the big setup. This was last year, is the big setup. What you are doing is you can't just go out there and begin to expose Jeffrey Epstein when most of the world has never heard of Jeffrey Epstein. They've heard of the funny meme, Epstein didn't kill himself, but they don't know who Jeffrey Epstein is. You have to get these people out there researching and investigating. You have to open their eyes to the reality of the truth. And so when we look back at 2025, Jeffrey Epstein became a household name. I want you to think about that for a second. Because if back in March and April, Pam Bondi just started releasing all this information, nobody would have cared. It wouldn't have been as big of news as it is today, because right now you have people on the left and the right that are like, oh my God, look at this. They're eating babies. Well, Q was right. Holy shit. This is the idea, that you had to get all of the people prepared and ready for it. Everybody interested in it. You had to take the idea of Jeffrey Epstein and you had to bring it in to the everyday normal conversation. Did you hear Donald Trump's in the Epstein files? Did you hear Donald Trump's in the Epstein files? Did you hear It doesn't matter if they were left or the right. This is what they were saying. And now vindication is coming through, because now they're forced to look at it. Now they're forced to acknowledge the information that's coming out. This is, I mean, think about this. Back in 2019, when Epstein was arrested, nobody fucking knew who this guy was. Nobody cared. If all of this information came out in 2019, it would have died with him. It would have been done. It would have been gone. And nothing would have happened. Now, we see a whole year of this buildup, this whole year of this psychological warfare where Trump's like, yeah, can we just end this whole Epstein thing? I don't want to go there. Making it people think that he's actually in the Epstein files. And Alpha and I pointed this out and said, watch, I'm telling you, this is a setup. And what happened? You had the left out there demanding, oh, release the Epstein files, release the Epstein files. We had left podcasters and researchers out there investigating and researching. And of course, they came across Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton. Of course, they came across massive amounts of Democrat donors and various different world leaders, but they ignored that and they only focused on Donald Trump. But now what happens? All of this begins to come out. You're finding they were killing babies. They were eating babies. They were raping babies. They were doing horrific acts. These people are fucking sick, satanic, demonic. And the world can't ignore it. The world can't ignore it. They have to acknowledge it. You had over 15 resignations over the last 5 days because of the Epstein files. And there's going to be a lot more to come. You're finding out that Jeffrey Epstein, had his hand in everything. Pandemic planning. Oh, isn't that interesting? Biomedical research, DNA, artificial intelligence. It's all there. He was involved with deliberations on FISA-gate, on the Russia conspiracy in Ukraine. Remember someone told you all that Epstein is the link, the kind of the keystone that brings everything together. It is the one thing that links it all together. All 3 movies playing simultaneously. Guardians of the Pedophiles, Panic in DC, and FISA-gate. And what do we have happening today? Boom, Georgia. Unsealed freaking subpoenas coming out from Georgia showing conclusively that, hey, something was wrong here. And we're about to get into that here in just a minute. I wanted to bring up just a few different things after my monologue. DEFCON 0 tonight, probably immediately after this show. It's in an hour from now. So I hope that you guys can join us there over on Badlands Media. So we're going to whip through the news that we have here. And for my D-Livers, it's been a while on D-Live since we've released that chest. And so for everybody on D-Live, I'm throwing in a little extra. So if you're on D-Live and you are watching now, and I don't know how many are on there watching, here you go. I'm throwing in a little extra. It's a lot of extra, actually. But that's because we haven't done it in so long. So I think there's only 4 people watching on D-Live anyway. But yep, there you guys go. You're welcome, D-Live. I got a whole bunch of stuff coming at you. So yeah, I gave them an extra 20. So on D-Live, you have a chest and it builds up with all the lemons that come in, and then you can release the chest. And it's usually like $3 or $4. I just threw an extra 25 bucks in there for them. So thank you, D-Live. Appreciate you guys. Sorry I can't see your chat anymore, but there you go. Hopefully that helps out. Kirill Dmitriev. I love this. This is amazing what this guy's been doing. You know, coming in here, Kirill says, it's time to say the quiet part out loud. The Epstein case has validated many of the Anon's core premises. And then he puts a storm. Look at that. And he put this out February 10th right there. It's time to obliterate the deep state, do it Q. And I mean, the guy is not hiding the fact and the idea that he is definitely a Q-tard. That's great. I love it. I'm a Q-tard. You're a Q-tard. He's a Q-tard. But it's cool to have someone that's like in conversations every day with Vladimir Putin, with Lutnick and Kushner and all these guys. That's like, what do you guys think of Q? Right? I don't know. It's kind of odd. But it gives validation to exactly that Q was absolutely 100% real. Congressman Max Miller. I'm not even going to read it. I want you to listen to what he says. Just listen.
From what I've heard so far, America's enemies can funnel as much cash into the nonprofit sector as they want. So let's go through this hypothetical scenario, and let's just see if I'm right or I'm wrong, and please tell me so. Theoretically, is it possible for Xi Jinping himself to entirely fund an American 501c3, I'm not done yet, by donating it through a donor-advised fund without the public ever seeing his name on that C3's Form 990?
Absolutely.
Just again, so it is possible that Xi Jinping himself could do something like that.
There's no legal barrier whatsoever.
Thank you very much, Mr. Walter. I appreciate it. From what I've heard so far.
So what he's trying to tell you here is that through NGOs, this hidden mechanism, this hidden arm, our world has been manipulated. He said in his post right here, Americans are not as divided as it may seem. Our enemies are engaged in a covert influence operations to pump money in the nonprofits that sow chaos and discord. It is being exposed. So think about this. The NGO infrastructure, we've looked at this over and over, right? Is that when people say the deep state, most people are like the entire global cabal. No. The deep state is just the kind of the American or the local political infiltration. So it would be the DC infiltration. It'd be your local and state infiltration. It'd be the ones that are collaborating together to kind of take down the long-term bureaucracy that are working for forward goals, for goals that they've all set aside for globalism, right? That's the deep state. But then you got to bring in globalists. Globalists are kind of like outside of this deep state arena. Think of them as the managers, right? The managers, the globalists, the elitists. These are the managers, the people that sit above this kind of bureaucracy. And then what you have is you have between the managers and the deep state, you have this influence operation known as NGOs, non-government organizations, and nonprofit organizations, where money flows back and forth that goes to funnel to basically whatever they want. So what they do is you have money that comes out of the governments that flow into NGOs, and from NGOs, this goes into specified spending around the globe, or whether it's climate change, whether it's the No Kings rallies, the George Floyd stuff. It all funds various different protests, social action, social justice, these types of movements to promulgate and promote leftism or socialism or globalism is really what it is at the end of the day. And then you have the large financial institutions that are kind of the infrastructure of all of this. And yes, they are all in on it. They're just a different part. The best model to actually look at for kind of the globalist infrastructure is going to the World Economic Forum and understanding the three letters, ESG, environmental, social, and governance. So environmental, social, governance, you have environmental, you have, my mind just went blank. But environmental, this is where you get climate change. This is where you get all your climate agenda. Social, environmental, social, governance. Yeah, social, you get diversity, equity, inclusion. You get DEI. And then governance, this is where you get PPP, public-private partnerships. Public-private partnerships are exactly what we're talking about. This is the NGO, the MPO infrastructure that exists between. But this is also how a group of global elite can go in there and meet at the Bilderberg meeting or the WEF meeting in Davos, and they can discuss policy and regulations and say, hey, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. And then what they do is through public-private partnerships and through social movements, they can push that agenda and get the appropriated funding into that, and then funnel that funding off into their own pockets and the politicians' pockets, into various different movements, as well as progress and get policies and regulations changed within governments that align towards their globalist infrastructure. This is what they've been doing since the Kyoto Treaty in 1992, and they become fairly proficient at doing it. Now, in understanding that, the fact that this is being discussed in Congress, that this is being exposed, that over the last year, we've seen an absolute turning out of the inside of all of their funding mechanisms and a lot of the stopping of their funding mechanisms. It's going to tell you that there is going to be some move by Congress. There has to be some move by Congress here in the near future to where they are going to begin to regulate that NGO, NPO infrastructure, that they are going to go in there and say that, hey, no NGO can do business with the government unless A, B, C, D, and E all are aligned, and that there's going to be an oversight group that is separate from Congress, that is separate from the various different government agencies, from the executive branch, that's going to have direct oversight, that's going to have to give a report on all. We have to have some type of mechanism to basically review these NGOs, because you're not going to get rid of NGOs completely, which I wish we could. But what you're going to do is that in order for an NGO to get funding, there's going to have to be a series of steps that have to be taken. But it's interesting because it's all being exposed right now. And then when we start to look at the NGO network, one of the things from that same network, I mean, think Zuckerbucks, think George Soros Open Society Foundation. This is what was utilized to steal the 2020 election. John Harold today, what are the odds that the FBI conducted a tabletop exercises identifying a range of potential scenarios of DVE activity response to a disputed 2020 U.S. presidential election in the same month that the Transition Integrity Project conducted their tabletop exercises outlining scenarios of disputed 2020 U.S. presidential election? Interesting, isn't it? And now we're seeing basically the same process of all of that unfold in Georgia. Days before the FBI's raid in Fulton County's election facility to see 700 plus boxes, the former head of the Atlanta FBI warned election officials about the raid and explained that they were looking for, as a result, only 656 boxes were found. What happened to the missing 44 boxes? And yes, this is very, very true. That FBI agent needs to go to jail. So today we had an unsealing. I'll read this to you. And by the way, yes, the 2020 election is being exposed. And one thing to keep on your radar is Fort Pierce, Florida, the grand jury. What's going on there and when's that all going to take place? I think it's coming very, very soon. I think it's coming faster than people think. All right. This investigation is presently focused on the following deficiencies or defects with the November 3rd, 2020 election and tabulation of the votes thereof. The tabulator machines used by Fulton County are designed to create and save a scanned image of each ballot. Fulton County has admitted that it does not have scanned images, all 528,777 ballots counted during the original count, or the 527,925 ballots counted during the recount. Fulton County has confirmed that during the recount of votes, some ballots were scanned multiple times. Ballot images made available in response to public record requests show ballots with unique markings duplicated within the ballot images. During the risk limiting audit, auditors counting the votes by hand reported vote tallies for batches inconsistent with the actual votes within the batch. The state's Performance Review Board reported that Secretary of State investigators confirmed inaccurate batch tallies from the risk limiting audit. Auditors assisting the risk limiting audit reported counting purported absentee ballots that had never been creased or folded, as would be required for a ballot to be mailed to the voter and for the ballot to be returned in the sealed envelope requiring the voter's signature for authentication. On the day of the deadline to report the recount results, Fulton County reported a total of 511,343 ballots, 17,434 ballots fewer than originally counted. The following day, Fulton County then reported a total of 527,925 ballots counted. Yeah. This is going to get really, really good. Let's listen to what John Solomon has to say about all of this.
We got a lot of big news for you today. In fact, I would argue that today is one of the most momentous days in the fight for election integrity in a very long time. Just the news obtained just a short while ago, the affidavit that the FBI filed back in late January for probable cause for that raid on the Georgia Fulton County election warehouse. What the FBI says in that affidavit is extraordinary. It says it has, quote, substantiated, those are the exact words, that there were irregularities in the vote count in Fulton County. That is the Atlanta area, the largest urban center, the largest vote center in Georgia. FBI Special Agent Hugh Raymond Evans first filed the affidavit last month. It got unsealed today. It establishes the probable cause for that raid, which were 700 boxes of 2020 election ballots were taken from a storage warehouse. After getting a referral, by the way, this is something we learned in the affidavit. The referral of this information, the specific credible evidence, came from the White House election integrity czar, a guy President Trump picked named Kurt Olson. Now, the FBI agent wrote in that affidavit that, quote, some of the allegations that were raised about the Georgia election have been disproven, while some of the allegations have been substantiated, including through direct admissions by Fulton County. I want you to stop and just think about that for a second. Fulton County is now admitting they did things inappropriately for the 2020 election. Doesn't mean the vote totals are going to change, but the way they count it and how they audit it and how they did the recount clearly in great concern. His affidavit cited 5 major areas of irregularities. I'm not going to go through all of them with you. I'm going to tell you all 5 are things that Just the News reported between 21 and 24 during our investigation of the Georgia election. Now, there are some of them are pretty simple. The ballot counts didn't match. They would scan images, and then some of them were lost. They would sometimes count, then the counts wouldn't match. So you have a loss of ballots. You've got ballots that were submitted for counting that didn't go through the proper verification process. There were ballots that were scanned twice, which means they were counted twice during recounts. And I think the most extraordinary admission comes from a top lieutenant to Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger. He was the Georgia election chief. His number one guy admitted to the FBI, according to the affidavit, that some of the things that the FBI corroborated, some of the things that they got Fulton County to admit to, he himself, as the election chief under Brad Raffensperger, had not heard of and does not think the state ever looked at. Now remember, Brad Raffensperger was among the people early on who argued that it was a perfect election in Georgia, no reason to distrust the count. Now, in fairness to Secretary of State Raffensperger, as Just the News began to find evidence of wrongdoing in Fulton County, things like the double counting of ballots, the missing images, the votes that where someone marked both Trump and Biden and only Biden was picked the winner, that was a spoiled ballot. He admitted that maybe things weren't as perfect. And perhaps the most important piece of evidence that we put out there and that the FBI relied on in its affidavit, the Carter Jones report. This is a report by Raffensperger's personal emissary to Fulton County. He was sent there to observe the 2020 election, 8 pages of irregularities. He observed, the FBI said that is important evidence in their evidence. A couple quick things that just jump out in this affidavit. Then we're going to get to our first guest, the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee. We'll get his reaction on this and a whole lot more, including the subpoenas he issued for big healthcare companies and health insurance companies today. But there's a moment where the ballots are being recounted in a recount, and they don't match. They come up 17,434 ballots short. And then magically, without explanation, without anything changing, they suddenly reported the next day, oh, the ballots matched. Now, why is that important? If, as the FBI agent says in his affidavit, if they can prove that were intentional, that they knew they were misleading the public, that they knew they weren't following certain amount of the state laws and regulations for the election, they can be charged with fraud under election integrity statutes. A lot of ways of looking at this is that they may never get to the bottom of whether fake votes were cast, but they may have the strategy that took down great mob bosses by finding a tax violation or something else, Al Capone. They may have an Al Capone solution to the election integrity problem that has long dogged Georgia. There could be some accountability. Go to justthenews.com.
Now, what was the legal statutes that took down Al Capone? RICO cases. Exactly what we've been saying from the beginning, that this is one big RICO cases. So, Fulton County, Georgia, FBI raid affidavit confirms election records in Fulton County's 2020 vote count was manipulated. 16 tabulators out of an expected much larger number were used to generate closing data for about 315,000 ballots across 138 provided poll tapes. The extreme concentration and probably funneled through a small set of machines, breaking a chain of custody rules and making it easier to alter election results. Review of machine logs indicated that memory cards were likely removed from their original tabulators and inserted into different ones to produce and recreate closing poll tapes. This indicated tampering or fabrication of records to cover up discrepancies, as it allows data to be manipulated outside the standard processes. Many closing poll tapes, essentially documents that verify end-of-day voting totals from each polling site, were entirely missing from the records provided. Without these, there's no way to confirm that the votes were added, removed, or changed post-election. It was discovered that the tabulator's data appeared to cover ballots from several different polling sites, which shouldn't happen under normal procedures. This suggests intentional mixing of data streams, which leads to duplicate votes, misplaced ballots, and hidden errors across precincts. Tabulators showed mismatched or anomalous timestamps in their logs, such as dates and times that didn't align with actual election events. This could indicate backdating, editing, unauthorized access after polls closed, further hinting at possible manipulation to make records appear consistent. Auditors assisting in the risk-limiting audit reported counting purported absentee ballots that never had been creased or folded, as would be required by ballots to be mailed to the voter and for the ballot to be returned in the sealed envelope, requiring the voter's signature for authentication. Now, I hope with this that the indictments that do come, they come for the governor, the secretary of state, the attorney general, and everybody else in Georgia who covered this up. Because if it doesn't, there's going to be a big problem. If they only go to Fulton County election officials, if they only slap the hands of a few different people, there's going to be a lot of pissed off Georgians, a lot of pissed off Republicans, and a lot of pissed off people. My advice to Pam Bondi and the DOJ, go as high up as you can prove on this. You know Brad Raffenson, and that's what Trump even told you, is helped to cover this up. You know that the high ups covered this up. You know that everybody from George Soros, Mark Zuckerberg on down was involved in this. Let's see some arrests in Georgia. All right. Epstein files. Lots of stuff going on with the Epstein files. We're going to transition to that in just a second. Let me wet my whistle. Going to transition into that in just a second. First thing I got to do, though, Rumble. For all my Rumblers out there. They can freeze your accounts. They can shut off your cards, lock you out of your own money overnight. Banks don't protect you. They control you. That's why real financial freedom starts with ownership. Introducing the Rumble Wallet, a non-custodial wallet built for people who refuse to give up control. With Rumble Wallet, you don't just buy digital currency like Bitcoin and Tether. You can own Tether Gold, real gold on the blockchain. Through Tether Gold, you get direct ownership of physical gold bars, each one fully allocated, verifiable by serial number, purity, and weight. This isn't paper gold. This isn't an IOU. This is real gold without bank vaults, storage fees, or gatekeepers. You can buy, sell, or move it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even with traditional gold markets are closed. And if you want, Tether Gold can be redeemed for physical gold. That's power. And when you support creators on Rumble, you can tip them directly using Rumble Wallet, peer-to-peer, and outside the banking system. No permissions, no middlemen, no cancel button. This wallet is yours forever. Go to wallet.rumble.com, and if you go to my Rumble page and you just look there by the name, you'll see the tip, and you'll be able to do that tip jar and find or search for me on there. But thanks, Rumble. Roll it. All right. Epstein files. Kathy Rumeller. Former White House counsel under Obama, recipient of the CIA's Agency Medal from John Brennan in 2015, and current top lawyer at Goldman Sachs, was paid $10 million by the Rothschild family through Epstein to resolve a $45 million DOJ tax evasion case. Wait, was this pay for play? Oh my goodness. Yes, it is. Epstein's the one that kind of finagled the middleman. Kathy Rumeller, part of the Obama administration, took in the bribe from the Rothschild family, $10 million, and got the case closed. I'm hoping that Kathy ends up in handcuffs, because that's where she absolutely deserves to be. All right. Epstein files. I'm confident this new initiative can succeed and have a huge impact on human morbidity or mortality. Back in 2012, W. Ian Lipkin was scheduling a meeting with Jeffrey Epstein, boasting that he directs the largest and most productive center for pathogen surveillance and discovery. Fast forward 8 years later, the world enters a pandemic, and Lipkin becomes one of the co-authors of The Proximal Origins of SARS-CoV-2, a paper that shaped the early global narrative around the origins of COVID-19. Isn't that interesting? You know what else is interesting about that? Is that there's other emails here that directly associate Epstein with other scientists, like Dr. Nathan Wolfe. Now, you might not know who Dr. Nathan Wolfe is, but if you followed Game Tech Politics or Blue Canary's work over the last few years, you probably heard of Dr. Nathan Wolfe, founder of Metabiota, a company that was operating in the Ukraine biolabs under Black & Veatch through a DIA contract and partly funded by Rosemont Seneca, Hunter Biden's company, is in the Epstein files. Dr. Nathan Wolfe is a well-known epidemiologist, founder and chairman of Metabiota, and an expert in infectious disease risk analysis and pandemic preparedness, disease tracking, and early warning. Metabiota used data analytics and epidemic models to track the global spread of SARS-CoV-2 and to forecast its trajectory in many countries. It built risk forecasts and scenario models during the early months of the pandemic that were used by governments and private partners for situational awareness during the planning. Now, wrap this all together, okay? Remember I told you, Epstein is this kind of interthreading between everything. I've said we're going to go from FISA-gate before, Benghazi, Uranium One, all of this, right? Then we're going to go from FISA-gate to 2020, so COVID-19, so 2018 midterms, 2020 election, 2020 to 2024. And all of this stuff in between is directly associated. You can throw Epstein at the center, throw his network out there, and you start to connect all the dots. So this is where it kind of gets interesting. So you have Epstein directly connected with various different scientists and epidemiologists, Bill Gates as well, who were directly associated in the pandemic response that came about in the 2020. You have Epstein knowing right now, and this is released already, operating with Wolfe, trying to take down Donald Trump. They're trying to find ways to make sure that Donald Trump didn't get elected in 2020. You have collaboration between Jeffrey Epstein and the Rothschilds. The Rothschilds own Soros. Soros and the Rothschilds are hand in hand in all of this. LDR, inForce or Day Rothschild, is one of the global elites that we're talking about here. She is good friends with another guy by the name of Lord Mark Malloch Brown, who they work together in the London Financial District. Do you see this connection? Now, start to take that in the process key, right? Lord Mark Malloch Brown, 2014 to 2020, was the CEO of Smartmatic. Smartmatic is the software used by divining voting machines. We were just talking about that in Fulton County, right? That's what helped to steal the 2020 election in Michigan and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and Georgia and Arizona. Okay. Lord Mark Malloch Brown was also on the board of directors at the Open Society Foundations owned by George Soros. You have Lenny Bernardo in a June 2016 email to an associate in Europe talking about how HRC, Hillary Clinton, had agreed to move forth with the compromise, Russian compromise, on Donald Trump, except they didn't have it, so they had to create it through Threat Connect and CrowdStrike. So George Soros directly connected to the FISA-gate, to Russia. Then you have George Soros Open Society Foundation that funded massive amounts of attorney generals, governors, and secretary of states during the 2018 midterm elections. Now, at the time, we're like, oh, they're just going to flood the streets. They want a color revolution. They want riots. They want all this stuff. But we didn't know the whole plan until 2020 when COVID came around. Event 201 happened. You had the World Health Organization, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Metabiota was there. They came in there and ran a pandemic response for a coronavirus type of virus that spreads through a wet market in South America to where they have to push out and roll out an mRNA vaccine. And this was in October of 2019. you have Bill Gates directly associated within all of this. Why? Because before this, you have the global elites all talking about we need one global calamity, one global emergency to bring all countries down to their knees so that we can rig the 2020 election and steal this from Donald Trump and take power back and stop the dismantling of the systems that he is taking down. So now you go back to the 2018 election. This makes a lot more sense because it was the governors, the secretary of states, and the attorney generals that George Soros focused on. But he focused on them not in every state in the country. He focused on Pennsylvania, Georgia, Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona. Because those are the same people that when COVID hit, that once COVID happened, went and approved emergency resolutions for mail-in ballots. Came out through the Secretary of State, hey, we're going to do mail-in ballots, emergency resolution. The Attorney General approves it. The governor signs off on it. Everybody yells and screams, says, hey, you don't have that power and authority. You find out after the 2020 election that it was unconstitutional, that they didn't have the power and authority to do that. But it was too late. But it was a setup. And so now you can intertwine all of this. You know, Soros, Rothschilds, Epstein, all of this is integrated into the center here that ushers down from the global elite, that it's kind of like this working group that was operating. New document discovered shows individuals alleged to have knowledge of Epstein's finances. This is interesting. I'm going to pull this up for you. There's some well-known names on here, and there's one well-known name. Yep, there it is. So this was a redacted document the other day, and now it's not redacted. And who's that right there in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Number 5, Donald Trump. Donald Trump. Well, that's interesting because we actually find out through the same types of documentation. Former police chief who investigated Jeffrey Epstein in the mid-2000s was told the FBI he had received a call from Donald Trump at the time to say, thank goodness you're stopping him. Everyone has known he's been doing this according to the FBI accounts. So that document that we just showed you says that Donald Trump has knowledge of finances and defended sexual desire for minor girls. Well, no shit. Donald Trump was the original whistleblower. ABC News has forced to admit that President Trump blew the whistle on Jeffrey Epstein all the way back in 2006. We have documents showing that Donald Trump 100% was the original whistleblower. Boom, right here. So this is interesting because you remember Elon came out and said what? Donald Trump's in the Epstein files. And the left went nuts. We're going to release the Epstein files. Remember all the Democrats, they voted for the release of the Epstein files. Oh, yeah. And now they're coming out. And not only is Donald Trump in them, is they vindicate Donald Trump. What an interesting time to be alive. Congresswoman Anna Paula Luna confirms the use of code words in Epstein's emails like jerky, has seen the unredacted files describing specific age, 11-year-olds, and permission to kill, reveals they were sent by women who were alleged victims. And so one thing that's been said about this is that the victims of human trafficking are typically made into the handlers afterwards. And that gives them this false sense of, what is it? That they're not good. It's like signing an NDA, but you don't have one, that now you're implicated in the same crime. So you better just shut up and go with it. And this is Nadia Marakova. This is Rachel Chandler. This is all of them. So a lot of those people's names are not being released because they are being protected under the witness flow, even though they were co-conspirators. Jeffrey Epstein commissioned a $2,000 painting of babies being killed. I shit you not. Of babies being killed for his New Mexico ranch. The painting Massacre of the Innocents by Cornelius Van Haram. He wanted this on full display at Zorro Ranch, the same property where victims described feeling like human incubators for a superior gene pool obsession. MJ Truth says it earlier. I don't think Epstein is dead. Epstein's prison guards. Ready for this one? We learned from the documents Epstein's prison guards used fake body to thwart the media off the trail of the real body. Yeah. Redacted employee number 5 and someone named Dupree and Adams used boxes and sheets to create a human body to basically allowing the black vehicle to depart unnoticed with Epstein's body. Oh yeah, this is good. All right, so that's all we're going to go over for Epstein. One thing to understand is that a truly dark world is being exposed. And what do I mean by that? Guys, the evil of these people is far greater and worse than you can ever imagine. What you're seeing right now in the emails of Epstein are just the tip of the iceberg. What you saw within Pizzagate in the Podesta emails and in the Clinton emails is just the tip of the iceberg. This isn't even how evil these people are. So with understanding that, would these people that are so dark and evil kill 85% of the global population to rule and rule and control over them? Yeah, they absolutely would. And that was their plan, because you had the Great Reset coming. You had the fourth turning coming. They knew that there was going to be a technological renaissance and revolution. AI was coming. They didn't want the global population. It's much easier to manage 500,000 people. Think of the Georgia Guidestones. These people are truly sick. We're going to talk more about this tonight on DEF CON. So I'm beginning to have hope within the FDA. Moderna says the FDA has refused to review its application for an experimental mRNA flu shot. Good. Thank goodness. More hope right here in medical news. The National Institutes of Health came out today and said ivermectin, a macrocyclic lactone discovered in the mid-1970s, plays a critical role in the treatment of a wide range of parasitic diseases in humans as well as veterinarian practice. Over the past decade, researchers have explored repurposing this molecule as an anti-cancer agent following the 2015 Nobel Prize in Medicine for the discovery of ivermectin by a researcher who pioneered the concept of looking for uses beyond antibiotics for biological activity in microorganisms. The National Institutes of Health is currently funding intramural research for this purpose. So they're looking at the utilization of ivermectin for cancer. I mean, you wouldn't have had this under any other administration. All right. Expand out now. There's the fall of the cabal, right? There's the fall of the globalist order. This is basically done. It's just being exposed now. Their power structure has been completely dismantled. They still have remnants of control here and there. They still have a little bit of power here and there, but this whole infrastructure has been destroyed. What you're seeing come about from this is a new multipolar world framework. China, the United States. China came out the other day. Now listen to the timing of this, okay? February 7th at 8 a.m. February 7th, 8 a.m. China reportedly has developed a high-powered microwave weapon capable of targeting Starlink satellites in low Earth orbit. No shit. I reported on that 2 years ago when satellites were falling out of the sky. 8 hours after, or 6 hours after that was posted, a massive fireball is seen over West China. That was the United States responding in kind, taking out one of China's quantum entangled communication satellites. At least that's my thought. Elon Musk came out and said SpaceX will build a system that allows anyone to travel to the moon. Now, I don't know if you're a flat earther, flat mooner, fake space. Don't care. Within 5 years, that conversation will be old news. What's it going to be like when you can actually just like go down to the spaceport? You can get on a starship. You pay $2,000 and you can fly to a hotel on the moon. Shit you not. That's coming. In your lifetime, that's going to happen. all those other discussions kind of go away. Building blocks for life detected on 3i Atlas. Scientists say it could be an interstellar gardener seeding the cosmos. This is interesting. This is one theory that many have talked about with Umawama too, is that these are seeders. They are, think about them as modified large comets by extraterrestrial civilizations that are seeded with the building blocks of life. And that they are designed to span across planets. In a star system, they go across all the planets, and their debris trail lets off, the seeds of life that eventually will make their way into the planet. Novel idea. Or sometimes they'll find a planet and then crash into it. Star Trek has done multiple different episodes on exactly that. All right. I think that's it. Shit. Man, I actually got through it all. Crazy. All right. So I'm going to DEF CON. I got to head on over there and get my show prepped over there. So I was looking at the comments. I know some people are saying Friday night. Some people are saying Saturday night. Some people are saying Wednesday night for the Q&A. Today is Tuesday. So right now I'm going to plan Friday night for the live Q&A. So if you're a premium subscriber, we do a live Q&A. It is going to be Friday night because Thursday nights I have the other show that's going on. So just keep that in mind. Wrong channel there. I'm looking for something. Sorry. So, yep. So DEF CON 0 coming up in about 25 minutes. I will see you guys all over there. No more ads or anything like that. The only thing I ask is go out there, subscribe. If you're not subscribed to this channel, please do subscribe. And if you guys can, one thing I'd like you to do is give me some feedback on my website. It's still in its beta test phase. I got a few things to fix and check. I've gone out there and made some modifications. I noticed on my tablet the other day, the videos weren't loading, so I have to fix that. But redpills.tv, redpills.tv. Go on over there, subscribe over there, check out the website. And there is ways to support us over there and also all of our sponsor information. So it does help us. It keeps us alive and keeps alternative media floating. So appreciate you guys. Much love, respect. God bless. Take care. Have a great night. And we're going to see you guys in a little bit on DEF CON 0. And if not, I will see you guys tomorrow. Good night.
There was a time when our children stood tall, hand on their hearts, one voice for all. There was a time when honor had weight, when the flag was a symbol, not a debate. There was a time when our history was known, with pride in the rules that made us our own. There was a time, respect for the brave, for those who bled, for the lives they gave. Now the homeland burns into silent war. Truth is twisted, we can't ignore. Through the smoke a time when truth was clear, when the media served, not ruled by fear. There was a time when leaders stood fast, guarding the people, defending the past. Now corruption wears a crown, lies are fed to tear us down. But Q said watch, and Q said see. The silent war will set us free. From the front lines, soldiers stare, wondering if we're still there. Their blood, their hope, their sacrifice will not be sold for a last prize. There was a time, but the time isn't near. The great awakening is here. Dark to light, the veil undone. Patriots arise, we are one. Land of the free, home of the brave. No more silence, no more slaves. Answer the call, take back the fight. Children of freedom, stand for the light.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on. Or we will spend our sunset years telling our children what it was once like in the United States where men were free.
There was a time, the time is near. The great awakening is here. Dark to light, veil undone. Patriots rise, we are one. Land of the free, home of the brave. No more silence, no more slaves. Answer the call, take back the fight. Children of freedom, stand for the light. There was a time, there was a time. Now is the time. Do it.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. The air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation. I want you to get mad.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
The more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out.
These people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy.
We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented. It's as simple as that.
I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, "I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!"